Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be working on my 86 Norris Craft 1750, and I'm actually doing some troubleshooting work for the 89 200 horse Mariner. It's got some charging issues that I'm trying to figure out. I think I have an idea kind of what all is going on here, but I just wanted to do a little step-by-step troubleshooting just to give you all an idea, in case you run into this yourself. So the issue I've been noticing is that ever since I've got my depth finder and my volt gauge installed, this is a pretty good non-running reading right now, 12.3 volts. But I've noticed when everything's actually running, the voltage is still relatively low. So typically, whether it's a vehicle like this or an automotive vehicle where it's got an alternator on it, typically when it's running, it's got a much higher charge voltage than your normal battery voltage, somewhere between high 13s, low 14s. And what I'm noticing is when it's running, I'm in low 12s, high 11s, and then when I trim up with the hydraulic motor here, it drops all the way down to the 10s. So I've got some issues going on, and I'm pretty sure that it is the regulator rectifier, but it's taken me actually a while to find out where this is located on this motor. So I've had to replace one of these before on my jet ski or my wave runner, and it was pretty simple to get to. It was just a relatively small box, had a few wires coming out of it, and it was direct plug and play. So looking all over this motor here, on the electronic side, you've got the starter solenoid, this module down here, here's your starter itself, and so I kind of figured that the regulator would be in that general vicinity. So looking at it, I could not figure out where the heck this thing was, and so I ended up going online, specifically to iboats.com, and posted on their forums, and a couple of the guys on there happened to know for this motor exactly where these things are located. So this is an 89 V6 200 horsepower Mariner, and I guess for these particular motors, not necessarily the 200 horse, but I believe like 135 and up, from 89 to 92, I think it was, they've got the regulator rectifier, which is water cooled, and it's placed right down here in the back, right behind the mounting bracket for your coils. So it goes in the very back right here, and it bolts to the head, and it's got an open water jacket back here for coolant to kind of run across the cooling fins just to keep everything cooled down. So that's what we're going to work on today. Kind of to make a long story even longer, I think the reason why this happened was on my battery setup back here. I've got just typical standard 2 batteries. This is my starting battery, and this is one that my trolling motor is attached to. And what I've got here is what's known as the Troll Bridge 24. So this is something I got probably about 3 years back when I rewired the whole boat. And my goal was that whenever I am, running the motor out there on the water or starting it up or anything like that, I want both of these batteries to run in parallel. The reason for that is I've basically got twice the battery capacity. It'll run on 12 volts in parallel. So I've got some extra cranking current, and more importantly, when the motor is running, it'll charge both batteries at the same time. Typically, when you have your trolling motor set up, you either have separate batteries just for the trolling motor. This is a 24 volt trolling motor. So typically, you would have either one battery designated just for the engine for charging, then you might have 2 other spare batteries that aren't connected to the charging system at all, that's just for the trolling motor. And then so you just use a battery charger and charge those independently. But I got tired of doing that with these 2 batteries, and I got tired of every time I wanted to use the motor in 24 volt, I had to come back here and jumper some wires. So that's what I got this Troll Bridge for. And basically the way it works is whenever I flip to 24 volt up there on my trolling motor pedal, as soon as I press down on the pedal to make the motor spin, relays in here actually flip over, and just the way that these are wired, these 4 wires right here go into the Troll Bridge, And basically the way this is wired is it will just trip a relay, which will wire the batteries either in series or in parallel, depending on how it's activated. And it only sends 24 volts up to the trolling motor, which comes out of the blue wire right here. So the issue is, originally when I hooked this up, I was an idiot, not paying attention, and I managed to cross the wires, which fried the troll bridge before I even got a chance to use it. And I have a feeling that when I did that, it also crossed polarity that went all the way back up there to the regulator and kind of destroyed that. And it took me quite a while to figure out what was going on, because one, I never had a voltmeter or a volt gauge up there on my dash, and I just got my new depth finder installed, and that has a digital readout of the voltage too. So I figured out that, you know, looking at that and the motor is running, it's still in low voltage, something's up. Because I normally, when I was done with the boat, just got into the habit of just throwing it on the charger if it sat for a couple weeks, just to keep everything at full charge, so I never thought anything about it. And I could spend a whole day out on the water with these two batteries in parallel without them being charged, listening to the radio, using the trolling motor, starting it up a few times, and when I get home and go to charge it, I mean, both batteries are at 50%, so they've got plenty of capacity for what I'm using it for. But anyway, let's get started here. So what we're going to do is we want to do two things. So these are the wires that come up from the stator, and kind of how that works is up here under the flywheel, you've got these two magnets here, and then you've got these coils here that are wrapped. And what happens is when this all spins, the magnets on here create an inductance through these coils, and that's that comes out of these two yellow wires here and goes into the regulator rectifier. And what that typically does is just creates an alternating current that then gets converted to direct current, and then it'll come out of this thick red wire right here, and this goes back to your starter solenoid and basically just charges the batteries. So what we're going to do is we're going to test to see the voltage, the alternating current, the AC voltage that's coming out of these two wires. We want to make sure it's consistent, and then we're going to check the DC voltage coming off this red one and see what it reads at. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to loosen these up so I can put my attach my voltmeter to it so we can get a reading on the wires coming off the stator. Going to pinch it behind the two terminals and then tighten it down. That way I don't have to sit here and hold it by hand. Come over here. I'm just going to go ahead and hook it up to the multimeter. Switches to AC. Hopefully that stays there. I'm going to go turn the water on, keep everything cool in the lower unit, and then we'll crank it over. bad connection, because that is not a constant reading. Try this again. Alright, so it was breaking up a little bit there. I think it was because whenever I sat it down here, there was a whole bunch of vibrations causing it to break up. But I went to about 4,100, I think is what the RPMs read, and from what I could tell, it looked like it was in the 90s. I guess I'll look back later on the video, but it was consistent. So as the RPMs went up, the AC voltage went up. So that's a good indication that the stator is just fine. And another indication that the stator is fine is my RPM reads perfect, so I know that I'm getting the right signal. So the next thing to test is going to be the output voltage from the regulator. So we're going to do the red wire coming out of the regulator, and then we'll just ground it to the head somewhere. I'll just ground it up here at the top. Switch this over to DC. So we're reading 12.2. Is that a better place to mount this thing? Alright, currently 12.2. Depth finder, if we can read that, is saying 12.3. Alright, so we're getting nothing. I mean, again, it was kind of bouncing around there when I revved it up real high. I don't know if that's because it was making these loose and it couldn't get a good reading if it was sitting internal here. But I can guarantee it wasn't spiking up to 100 volts. So yeah, we weren't getting anything. We should have been getting at least high 13s, low 14s on that. And we weren't getting anything. So that is a pretty good indicator that the regulator with the rectifier inside is bad, because we're not getting the voltage we want. So I guess I don't have the new one yet, and I've looked them up online and they are pretty expensive. So from what I can tell, I'm looking at about between $400 and $500 for one of these, and so I'm not looking forward to that. So I'll show you here how to take it off. Actually, the smart thing to do would be unhook the battery. Trolling motor. I don't know what that is. It's for my fuse box under the dash. That's the main as well. Good enough. And then, so these are your two wires here that are, I believe the purple's, one of these is tacked, or maybe both of them operate the tack. To be honest, I don't remember. But this pair is for your tack. Now all we have to do is undo these four bolts on here holding this coil bracket on, and that should hold in the regulator too. Looks like there's some spacers behind it that are falling. Need those. Some small little spacers here. They just, yeah, actually here's the other one. One more somewhere that I dropped. Yep, we'll get it later. There it is, the whole unit. Looks like this is 18736-C is the number on this. That's all I see. The ones I looked at online, it said 18736A and then another number after A, like A2 maybe. I don't know if those are any different. Those were the ones that I mean, they claim to be for the 200 horse 150s, 135s, like that. But here you can see this is where it goes into the head, and this is where the water just flows over this heat sink right here. So you've got a little gasket. So yeah, I don't know if 18736A, one I found online, is going to work or not. But I don't know. I guess that's where we go from there. So that's the bad piece, and behind here, that's just where it goes, and just water just flows through here. All right, so kind of long-winded, but kind of hope it helps anyone else that's kind of running into this issue on these older motors here. Like I said, when I originally looking for this, all I was looking for was a real small box, something. I mean, the one on my jet ski, I mean, it was about that big, and it had 4 wires come out of it because it didn't have the tack or anything coming off of it. But I don't know, it was simple and cheap. I think it was only a $30 regulator, and looks like I'm looking at about $400 to $500 for this one. Unfortunately, they're all epoxied and sealed shut, so I don't believe it's going to be serviceable. I mean, I could take it apart and see if I could fix some components in there, but at this rate, I think my best bet is just gonna get a new one. So anyway, I hope this helped anyone else out. If there's anything I missed on, I mean, this is my first time taking anything like this apart. So if anyone's got any suggestions or anything about, you know, where I might find a new one of these, I think CDI, I think they make some, which they don't look, I mean, they look a little bit different, and I'm concerned that the actual coils will mount to the top of them. And I don't even know about the back, if they have this heat sink or if it just kind of seals off into the head. I don't know. So from what I've found so far, I mean, I think I'm just looking maybe to find a used one that's in working condition at this rate. I don't know if the ones that CDI sells is going to be good. So anyway, I hope this helped. Thanks for watching.